Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for tuning in to another daily reading. We're going to continue today in Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 8, text 10. So, right now there's nobody online, and we have our stalwart, Dr. Adam is here once again. And we're going to dive into some kirtan, and then we're going to dive into our reading. So, Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Aschatya Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Aschatya Deshatarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna
Prabhuji. Okay. Hare Krishna, welcome
Hare Krishna.
back, Prabhuji. Welcome everyone online. We have Nakunja Nagari tuned in. Adishwara Radha was here, and then there was two of her, and then now she's gone, so I don't know what happened.
When you're not here. Then you step out. Everything gets, you get dragged in different directions.
Right.
I have my. Oh, that's right.
Welcome. We're going to start on chapter 8, text 10. And so, I'm just going to dive in here to the Mangalacharna.
What page is it?
354. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Karoti Vachalam, Pangam Karite Givim Yat Kripatam Vande, Shri Guru Dina Taranam. Okay, chapter 8, text 10. Prayana Kale Manasachalena Bhaktya Yukta Yoga Balena Chaiva Pruvur Madhye Pranama Vesha Samyak Satam Param Purusham Upaiti Divyam. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and, by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In this verse it is clearly stated that at the time of death the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Agya chakra. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga. But because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga bhalena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vedanti Vishanti Yatayo Vitaragaha Harishchanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tate Param Sangrahena Pravakshe. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkar, and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, in which one places the air of life between the eyebrows. Taking it for granted that Arjuna might not know how to practice Sat Chakra Yoga, the Lord explains the process in the following verses. The Lord says that Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features. Especially for the impersonalist, the Akshara or Omkar, the syllable Om, is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explains the impersonal Brahman, into which the renounced order of sages enter. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students, from the very beginning, are taught to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living with the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize these two features of Brahman. This practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But at the moment, such brahmachari, unmarried celibate, life is not at all possible. The social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in the brahmachari principles. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali, that in this age no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So, what is Prabhupada exactly saying whenever he says that? He says the social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. So he's saying because there's no recognized institution.
Sure. Social construction. Celibacy is not encouraged, obviously.
Right.
In the schools, in the media, everything's opposite. Sex life is encouraged. We're surrounded by the modes of passion in the Western culture. Even India has adopted Western culture. So the whole atmosphere is surcharged with, sexual desire, passion, which is culminates in sexual desire or activity. So, yeah, the whole construction of society now is anti-celibate. So that's why there's ashrams are created from time immemorial to create a place where you could have a chance, a hope for practicing celibacy, at least during the student years, by, how should I say, insulating oneself from the onslaught of sense objects that come about. But of course, we also know that is not a guaranteed a guaranteed security in that celibate state, unless one's mind is absorbed in a higher taste of Krishna consciousness. We've seen even great yogis, you know, you've read the scriptures, right, about yogis who were practicing celibacy underwater to get away from women. They still fell down, or they go in the Himalayas into a cave, and they still fall down. The only example that we use for somebody who's totally absorbed, was free from falling down, is Haridas Thakur. He had women coming to him in the middle of the night. Maya herself, prostitute, because he was so attached to chanting the holy name, tasting the nectar, and being responsible for his vows. Therefore he was able to, not only was he able to tolerate, but he was actually able to convert, right? He was able to convert somebody to chanting the holy name. Some of the prostitute who was out to get him, you know, was actually able to convert her. And as soon as he converted her, he left her. See ya, I'm going to follow my path. You follow this path now. You practice what I practice. As a disciple. So yeah, so Prabhupada's admitting that, you know, it's very difficult to practice. But in one sense, that's why in Krishna consciousness, I think we studied that verse, right, in the seventh chapter, right?
Which one?
Dharma, Kamosmi, Bharatarshava. Krishna says, I am a sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, right? And then Prabhupada explains how if you practice Bhakti Yoga and you're in the Grihastha ashram, you know Lord Chaitanya's name, so many of his main followers are Grihasthas, Lord Chaitanya himself is a Grihastha. So the idea was that it can be, Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that you can overcome attachment to sex life by following the regulated principles within Grihastha ashram. And then you can transcend that desire. Eventually that's the goal anyway. That's the goal, to be able to transcend that desire by, again, getting the higher taste. And ultimately everything depends on your application of practicing the principles of Krishna consciousness, beginning with Shravan and Kirtan. Does that explain your question? Does it answer your question?
It expounds a lot, but I'm just wondering, like, why, like, I'm really glad you said that, but I'm just wondering, like, why, so is he literally saying that it's impossible to practice celibacy as a brahmachari? It's confusing. Or is he saying that, like, it's impossible to go without getting married, because there are people who've done it, you know? I think. Because he says, at the moment, says brahmachari, unmarried, celibate life is not at all possible.
Basically saying, yeah, he's actually explaining how difficult it is, no possibility. He uses strong language, at least in my purpose. It says here, there's no possibility. But there is a possibility if you actually.
He's just saying generally.
Saying no possibility, I mean, generally, like across the board, 99%.
Yeah.
99% of the devotees in the Hare Krishna movement are married, or getting married, or thinking of getting married, which is all the same thing. If you're thinking about it, planning about it, lamenting about it, it's all, you're considered not celibate, right? Celibacy is not just, you know, not having sex. Celibacy, there's, in the seventh canto, it describes all the things that causes one not to be considered celibate. Starting with thinking of sex, or lamenting about it, or planning it, or it's dreaming about it, you know what I mean, all these things, you know. So, yeah, not at all possible. Now, that means somebody could actually follow it, but it's very rare. Such a great soul is very rare. You see in our movement, there's very rare, and Prabhupada saying, from the beginning of student life. So most of the devotees in the Hare Krishna movement are not products of the Gurukula, or proper
that's what it
Gurukula.
Yeah,
Student life
yeah,
means,
that's-
student life means what you went through, what I went through.
Okay.
Student life means, yeah, being in school, co-ed school, and everyone's talking, and everyone's flirting, and everyone's doing their thing, you know, that's the beginning of student life for us, that's what that means. Even if you follow brahmachari, like a gurukula situation, still, we see all the devotees who went to the gurukulas that were established there, you know, how many of them came out to be Naistika brahmachari? I mean, I'm not saying our school system was perfect, it was so flawed in so many ways, but Prabhupada's making a very strong statement that very, very difficult, and because there's no training, but Prabhupada's goal was to, right, to create an institution where it becomes possible, whereas the ISKCON is actually, you know, like the bubble of the golden age, right? You know, the golden age of Kali
Yeah,
Yuga?
yeah.
Yeah, so Kali Yuga is going all down, but there's this golden age, which means everything's going up. So if you jump on the golden thread through Kali Yuga, you could possibly reach the greatest heights, you know. So,
Yes. Thank you.
yeah.
That's awesome.
But Prabhupada's talking specifically in this verse, he's talking about practicing celibacy as a way to, should I say, within the yoga system. Celibacy is very much encouraged in the yoga system or in your personal system, just to get the strength, right? So complete celibacy, to get the strength to do all these types of meditation, right? Chanting Om, entering into Brahman. I mean, this is what this verses are talking about. So
Yeah.
that's a big price to pay, you know, complete celibacy. So Bhakti Yoga is powerful. You could be in the Grihastha ashram and you practice, what does Prabhupada call it? Brahmachari Grihastha or Grihastha Brahmachari. Like the Grihasthas who are actually following the principles of the past life are considered to be a type of Brahmachari. Prabhupada mentions that in the Gita here. So chanting Hare Krishna is the ultimate thing that saves whatever ashram. Proper chanting of Hare Krishna, right? Calling out complete dependence. And Prabhupada mentions this in the purport. The very last part of the purport says, the Lord Chaitanya has announced no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except by chanting Hare Krishna. The Maha.
When you say complete dependence and chanting Hare Krishna, what exactly are you referring to?
Complete dependence on the holy
Krishna.
name.
On the whole name.
And Krishna.
What is that like? How do you attain that?
How do you take that? By hearing, you're starting to understand your position. What is our position?
Service.
Servant. What kind of servant?
Eternal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're in a precarious position, right? In the material world, there's danger at every step, right? We're in a precarious position. So to depend on Krishna means that you understand your position, that you're in a precarious position, you're completely dependent on Krishna for breath, water, air, everything, you know, you're just completely dependent, right? That means you're humble. Lord Chaitanya chanting Hare Krishna. Humble state of mind, actually knowing our position. Humility means just recognizing your position. That we're so humble, we're just a tiny little fragment of Krishna's energy. He's great, I'm small. When you have that humility, then there's a possibility of taking shelter of the holy name. Otherwise, it's just mechanical. I mean, it's a start, it's called offensive chanting, but it's mechanical. It's repeating the sound without having the attitude. Attitude is everything. We have to develop the attitude of depending on the holy name, recognizing all this thing. How should you chant Hare Krishna? Like a
Cry for its mother.
child is dependent on his mother, right? Small child, completely dependent on his mother. That's what it means to be dependent on Krishna. Like a child. Right? Let's go. Next one. Unless you have something? Speaking of anything?
Perfect. Sarvadvarani samyamya manohridina rudya cha Murnyadhayatmana pranam astato yogadharanam. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Purport. To practice yoga as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self-gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the supersoul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail. But, as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance, or in samadhi.
Because I've been chanting, trying to cry out more, like really trying to cry out, but I've been, like my crying becomes very dry, and I don't even like have I can't even muster out any sincerity in my actual crying out, and therefore Krishna doesn't really, I mean, he sees that I'm not really like wanting what it is I'm crying for so much. So, like, would dependence help to, like, if I really felt I was more dependent on him, do you think that would help to, like, water the...
Prabhupada says it's all based on desire.
Yeah.
Either you want it or you don't. If you do, then...
That's depending on Krishna. If you desire and let him fulfill the desire, it's not going to happen instantly. You can catch a few moments during the japa of the 16 rounds where you actually feel like dependent on Krishna. You should mark those as a historical moments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And keep increasing those moments. Should keep trying to capture those moments. The feeling that Krishna's reciprocating. You can, if you don't pray, if you're not conscious of what you're asking, then you just go along in your spiritual life without really recognizing how Krishna's reciprocating. Or maybe Krishna's not reciprocating very much because it's not desired.
When I was trucking, I worked really hard, and at the end of the day normally, sometimes in the beginning before I would work, but most of the time after I did my whole day of work, then I would sit there exhausted and hungry and dirty. Sometimes I couldn't even get a shower like all week, unless I just dumped water in my head out beside the truck outside. And I'd be dirty and hungry and unhappy and angry, and I would just sit there and chant. And most of the time, I would admit, it felt very good to chant. But sometimes, most of the time I was just chanting. I wanted to chant, and I'd be really tired, but I would just keep chanting, and I would just keep chanting and keep chanting, and then I just chant until I would do my 16 rounds, and then I would sometimes just go straight to sleep, and I did that for a long time, like suffered through, and then one day, it was last year, or 2024. I took a trip to New York City, Brooklyn, and I stayed there for a short time, and I did Harinam with them in Union Square Park, and they asked me to lead kirtan. And when I did that, I had a very profound experience during that kirtan, and I perceived that um, all the times I chanted when I really didn't feel like it, all the times I chanted and like suffered through, all came back in that moment in this really powerful experience in the kirtan. And I had this realization of, to chant and really feel it is a very powerful experience, but especially the accumulated effect of chanting when you don't feel like it over time it was very powerful in a different way. And that comes back to give more taste in the chanting later. And so it's like an investment that we can't see actually. We don't know how powerful it is. I mean, imagine, it's easy to appreciate someone when they're being really nice to you and giving you gifts and everything's fun, but imagine, Krishna, how much he must appreciate you still chanting his name even when your mind is doing this, or you don't feel like it, or you got all this stuff going on, but then you still make the effort to chant his holy name. Imagine how endearing and, how even more powerful that chanting is in terms of Krishna's pleasure.
That's a great realization. Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing.
It's an idea. Something to chew on, I guess. Anybody online has any realizations about that? Maybe share?
Who's online now?
Adishvari, Radha, and Nakunja Nagari. They're hiding and doing other stuff. Oh, the New York, something.
Is this a Zoom?
Yes. I reached 50 followers so we can go live on YouTube. I tested it earlier and I hated it. And I thought, actually, this is better what we're already doing. Just do the Zoom call and the reading and then upload it later. If I go live on YouTube, I can't interact with Zoom. So I'd rather interact with...
This is Zoom, right?
Yeah.
And you're recording it simultaneously?
Correct.
Wow, it's high tech. Probably low tech, but I just don't know. Never heard
It is to me too, I don't know. I got a good tech guy though.
What's that sound?
It's water running off the roof. Or like off the gutter.
They don't have the things in place.
So,
Downspouts.
where were we?
We just got through with Samadhi. We're on 13.
Okay. Text 13. Om Mityakaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Manusmaran Ya Prayati Jajandeham Sayati Paramam Gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Purport. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is clearly recommended for this age. So if one quits his body at the end of life chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets, according to the mode of his practice. The devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavan. For the personalists, there are also innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahmajyoti.
Could you explain this relationship again of Om and Krishna?
You know, when I was a bhakta, I was chanting Om up in the
Opened up.
no, in the dormitory, and I just chanted Om on my own, and I told a senior devotee, like I was just telling him I was chanting Om and blah 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 something, uh, Kamalavati, Kamalavati. I told her
And what was that?
Kamalavati. I told her,
We told her, yeah.
and she said, well, you have to be careful when you're chanting Om, because Om like invokes like it's like everything. And then she gave this distinction that chanting Hare Krishna specifically is addressing, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when she explained invoking everything, she gave the impression to me of, good and, favorable and unfavorable things coming in. And so after that, I just took it, I kind of just took it as authoritative, and I stopped chanting Om. Uh, anyway, I thought that was interesting. I just thought to bring that up where, Prabhupada just said yesterday or the day before that Om is the sound representation of Krishna, but it's the impersonal. What do you say?
It says the sound Hare Krishna contains Om.
Right.
What does he mean by that?
Well, what I understand is that Om is like invoking basic general spiritual essence, like nature, and Hare Krishna is specifically addressing Krishna and our relationship with him and our service to him. So it's like, when you're material world, negatives. Impersonal understanding, 0. Personal devotional service, positives. So Om is like 0. And then when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're talking about bringing in the personal aspect and the concept of love, serve the servant, the service, and the served, and all the dynamics therein. So it brings in a whole other element, but it's not that Om is canceled out. Om is still there as the general spiritual essence, but then you have all the variegatedness and spiritual activities and dynamics that you don't get with just Om, but you can only get with Krishna.
Om is a transcendental sound.
Right.
So if somebody hasn't done anything spiritually, or not anything, but somebody who don't have experience with a high level of transcendence, the Maha Mantra, if they chant Om, they actually experience. The first mantra I chanted was Om when I was in a canoe with my brother in upstate New York. And we were chanting, let's chant Om. Because he was already influenced by Eastern philosophy. So we chanted Om, and it was just like, suddenly you just get this incredibly high feeling that's higher than anything that we were experiencing with the other methods of getting high. And I was like, well, there's something powerful here. Then it actually created faith. When you have an experience of the mantra, whether it's Om or, because later on then I started chanting Hare Krishna, but this is actually even so much greater feeling, the initial feelings that you get. But yeah, so the level of spirituality that you got from chanting Om, but you can't go much higher than the impersonal Brahmajyoti realization of experience. It's lacking the bliss. It's lacking the bliss because it's not personal. Then there's no service in the relationship, but you're vibing on a pretty high level, considering what level people usually vibrate.
Right. Yeah, like mathematics, 2 + 2 = 4, and beginner's mathematics, and also advanced calculus. It's like Om is like, anyway. Alright.
Well, one thing that's revealing in this reading is, the edits that have been made to bring it closer to the Siddhanta according to the way I understood it, the edits were made, but saying here those who are devotees. Can you read the purport where it says similarly those who are devotees? No. It's clearly recommended this age one quits the body at the end of his life, chanting the Maha Mantra. Then of course, the edited version has the whole Maha Mantra listed there, right? The one we just read. That was nice. And then, what does it say after the Maha Mantra? To finish the sentence.
He certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practice.
It's the same thing, but it's just not. He will reach the spiritual planets. So, more information. Okay, go ahead. Let's go on.
Alright, text 14. Ananyacheta satatam yamam smarati nityasah tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginaha. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha. As indicated by the word ananyachetaha, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a Jnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interests. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations, such as Rama and Nrsimha. And a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, he is especially inclined toward those who always serve him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in the Vedas, Katha Upanishad 1-2-23, Yam evaisya vrinute tena labhyas tashaisya atma vivrinute tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." As indicated by the words Satatam and Nityashaha, which mean always, regularly, or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. Sakya Bhakta, engaged as friend. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord, and so for him the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay, so here's a question. Here's a series of questions. You ready? In line of this verse. Let's see if I can find it. So I can ask you, what is the definition of karma mishra bhakti?
Devotional service mixed with personal desires.
Personal desire?
Like material desires?
Huh?
Material desires?
Karma mishra, yeah, so that means, karma means fruit of action, right? Fruit of activity. Karma mishra. Mishra means mixing, right?
Means I'm attached to. There's Karma Mishra Bhakti, Sakama Karma Mishra Bhakti. Karma Mishra Bhakti, I think, is whenever we're attached to the results, but we're also attached to specifically like what service we do. Like I want to wash the pots and I want it to look like this, and I want the results to be like this, but it's in devotional service. And then Sakama Karma Mishra Bhakti is like, I think like in between where it's like, I'll do any service, but I expect a certain result from it or something. And then pure devotional services, I'm not attached to what service or the results or any of that. If I'm correct.
So that's I never really realized there were like scientific distinctions. Like I've heard these terms, but I didn't realize it was like
The terms you mentioned are not mentioned in
They're in the Bhagavad Gita.
those different terms.
In a purport, yeah.
What do you call it?
Sakama Karma Mishra Bhakti. They're both mentioned in the same purport. I'll look it up.
Look it up for me, yeah, okay. Then here's another question, which is a practical application of what we just said, but it's in the same way. Somebody is employed by a temple for doing priestly duties and is getting paid. Is that a form of karma mishra bhakti?
I'm not sure. Immediately I think I want to say yes, but I can't. I'm not sure exactly.
Here's one answer that somebody gave me. It can be seen that way, yes. When someone is engaged in devotional service but also receives remuneration, it introduces a blend of material and spiritual motivations. So that can be considered a form of karma mishra bhakti, where the devotional activity is mixed with some personal or material aspects. The last thing said here, it's a nuanced topic, but that's definitely one way to look at it. And the next question was, can one be engaged in pure bhakti while still getting a salary?
Well, this was the question I was going to ask based on that last one was, doesn't it really depend on the consciousness of the individual?
Exactly. And then the answer that this guy gave was absolutely, that's possible as well. I mean,
Right.
in that scenario, even though one receives a salary, their intention and mindset can remain purely devotional without attachment to the fruits of their work. In that case, the activity would lean more towards pure bhakti and the karmic influence would be minimized. It's all about the consciousness
Right.
and the intention behind the service. The key is in maintaining a selfless attitude and a focus on devotional love rather than personal gain. Even if someone is compensated, their primary motivation can still be pure devotion. And that can elevate the practice just beyond karma mishra bhakti. It's really about the heart and the intention behind the service.
Because bhakti is completely independent. It can't depend on some material arrangement. So because someone's getting money, it can't be pure devotional service. It limits bhakti to being dependent on an external situation.
Exactly. I'm trying to tell my friend who's arguing very strongly and has done
against it.
online.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
We were actually just talking about this the other day because what did I say? I said something on this topic of, like, depending on your personal situation and arrangement and mood and devotional service, one may require money but be in a completely devotional mentality, and we don't know the channel in which Krishna is reciprocating with his devotee in that way. Like pure devotee, there's nothing that says pure devotees are not allowed to deal with money necessarily. I mean, remember Prabhupada, he said there's like some picture of a Mayavadi and a big pile of money, and the Mayavadi was like rejecting it, and then Prabhupada said we would give it all here.
Yeah.
Anyway, just adding to
No,
the point
that's
being made.
good. Then the next question obviously comes, this is all in the same line here, so. If somebody's getting paid by a temple to do service, but then the temple stops paying them and they quit. So what is that?
Well, that seems like there probably should be a lot more details in
Yeah,
any
this is
particular situation.
Obviously, yeah. So, but anyway, the same answer would kind of being given, nuanced situation, depends on the individual's attitude. If they just quit because they were just motivated for money, but so if somebody carries on, even if there's no money, but anyway, a lot of nuance. Ultimately, it's an inner attitude that can't be judged, really, that's the last question here. If it's all the inner attitude, then how can you judge it?
Right.
You can't, it's not really,
I don't think we're meant to.
not meant to, right?
I mean, except for ourselves. There's an older bhakta that came around here for a short time. I don't want to say it. I think his name was Levi or something.
Oh, Levi, yeah.
And
From Morgantown.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He was like an older kind of farm guy.
Yeah, he's a musician.
Yeah, and he was talking to me, and he said that he was in New York, I think, and Dina Bandhu Prabhu was there, or he was in some place with Dina Bandhu Prabhu at a temple, and he like raised his hand and asked a question at a public class or something, and I don't remember his question, but he told me the answer that Dina Bandhu Prabhu gave was, the Shastras are meant for us to live by and to for us to live our lives by, not to judge others by. And it like hit him really hard, because like his whole question was kind of in the mood of like, well, what if, people are kind of doing this or something, and he just like cut right through, and he's like talking about how he really appreciated that.
That's a wonderful answer.
Yeah. It's meant for us to apply in our own lives and live by, not to judge others by.
Yeah, we get a lot of work to do on ourselves. I don't have time for
And there's a
judging.
there's a class where Prabhupada talks about people getting paid and getting material amelioration in exchange for service, and he says that this is good. It's better that they do that than not approach Krishna at all. And he said, but not to confuse it, like, if we're materially motivated, not to confuse that with pure devotional service that's not materially motivated, but those who are doing that are actually like somewhat glorified in a way.
Yeah, I think the transformation of the institution that has occurred since Prabhupada's departure, it's not just New Vrindavan, it's across the board. I think if for the function of the larger institution, the grand institution that it's become, if these practices of corporatism, so to speak, are being incorporated into the institution, there should be a balance. Because the balance is that proper education, proper hearing, proper sangha, so that people will have a chance to do what it's kind of said in this little darshan it was given, that, in other words, it depends on the attitude. So, as we invest in employees to do jobs, there should be an equal investment for the spiritual education of those devotees who are doing the jobs or the services, whatever you want to call them, so that they can maintain a high level of devotion, even in an atmosphere which is kind of anti-devotional, or should I say, it's not anti-devotional, but
Can be confusing.
Anti-devotional maybe is too strong. It's more, it's not a favorable environment when you're, or should be, it could be considered unfavorable. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like you said, ultimately, there's no impediment to bhakti. So, if something is a corporate situation, are we saying that there can be no bhakti, there can be no pure bhakti in that atmosphere? No, we're not saying that, right? We're not saying that. But we're saying to protect a culture of bhakti, there should be energy invested in that. And Prabhupada always said it's kind of an educational institution. There should be care. I'm talking about that it doesn't devolve into just 9-to-5ism or whatever you want to call it.
It's a tough topic, I think, because, I mean, it's kind of like we all have to fly our own airplane. So it's like, if I care about your consciousness and devotional service, but you only care like 50%, it doesn't really matter how much I care about somebody else. If they don't care, then what is the institution going to make some standard that you can't regulate somebody's internal thing,
No, you can't. But why do we have an institution in the first place? If everyone wants to do, if everyone does their own thing and everyone's flying their own airplane, why have an institution? I mean, I'm obviously not against the institution, but that is.
Well, I would think that answer would just, like I thought Prabhupada said, I thought he said that once you start organizing religion, you start losing religious principles. But the organization is required to spread the knowledge, to more people. And, I don't know. Personally, like, I'll just give my personal mood is, in my own personal life, I'm a person that cares very little for what's going on around me a lot. And to me, in my life, like, unless it's my service, in my life, I have much bigger things to worry about, like in my own development. I want to be Krishna conscious, so I'm reading Prabhupada's books. I'm chanting, I'm trying to analyze things in a way that puts my Krishna consciousness first, and come to Krishna conscious conclusions about things. And so for me, it's like all tools, everything needed to be Krishna conscious, and is there. And in this, like in our temple here, it's like so much facility. Like if one really, really wants to be Krishna conscious, there's nothing stopping them. If one wants to be mixed, well, they can do that, and there's nothing stopping them either. It's just like, I'm not here to judge somebody else. I'm basically just trying to do my work that's relevant in my life and my Krishna consciousness, and try to contribute back and take advantage of the opportunities and the association and everything that's here, which is, there's so much. Good prasadam, and the deities are just out of this world, darshan, and so much, Prabhupada's books. So to me, it's, I don't know. I just came to a point where if there's some politicians or something, the devotees who are doing the politics, and better them than me doing that service. And I can just, if I'm just reading Prabhupada's books and trying to chant and focusing on my own development and situation by situation, trying to make progress myself, and I'm way happier.
Definitely.
But I respect all the devotees, hashing out the topics and figuring stuff out and everything like that. Like, completely respect that.
Yeah, it depends what the.
I think you told me once, Prabhuji, your circle of concern and your circle of influence. My influence is very small.
Yeah, so I guess it depends. Like it's a service. They're both services. Concentrate on approaching the situation like you're approaching it. Very, very nice. That way you can stay healthy even in the midst of the worst, I don't know, arguments or politics or whatever you want to call it. But the other thing is also invaluable, that some devotees care about, the leadership or the direction of the larger picture, or the issues that Prabhupada also cared about. It wasn't just like, okay, make sure that you're happy. There's like, for management or leadership, it's like somebody should be thinking how to make sure that everyone is taken care of, so to speak. Go to care, what do you want to say? Like Prabhupada was thinking like that, right? He was on his, Prabhupada's in the last days, he's not eating, he hasn't eaten for weeks. He started asking the manager, so how are the devotees getting milk every night? Do they like the prasadam? Are you getting ghee? Are they getting a little ghee in it? So that mood is also nice.
Right.
So, like you said, it's how to stay healthy. I think it's important. Spiritually healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also, just like the devotees receiving payment topic, and this topic also depends on the consciousness of the person, the way they're approaching it, what the intention is. If I want to contribute, okay, there's some problem, let me figure out a way to help and serve devotees. Sometimes people, they're just kind of disturbed and complaining and not really helping anybody and that kind of thing. So I think that's also a huge factor.
Yeah. How you approach everything
Right.
to want to be right, want to be seen as right, or knowing more than others, or
Yeah.
want to try to help. Definitely interesting world.
It makes it fun. There's so many different kinds of people with so many ideas.
Yeah. Never a dull moment, as they say. But anyway, that's a great verse here, 8:13.
13. Oh, 14.
I do have to say that
Yeah, they're a bit different.
the shocking differences. There's like whole
Yeah.
paragraphs.
You can't even follow. I know. Yeah.
You know about it, right?
Yeah, we read them side by side in Govardhan
And that was an exercise in
with Vaisheshika
appreciating the editing. Or?
Well, the idea was that we were having this understanding that the editors were supposed to edit for force and clarity, and so anytime something would come up, we'd go in and see is what Prabhupada's saying being changed, or is we just compare them side by side. Yeah.
So how'd the exercise go? Was it everyone was like thinking it was a really good job, or was it mixed?
Well, when I was doing that, and I don't know, I think this is still going on. Vaisheshika Prabhu is like a BBT trustee.
Is it what?
BBT trustee.
You teach us, yeah.
And so we're going through, and we also would find mistakes. So it's like it's not like a finished job, or it wasn't at the time, and it was like we were also finding mistakes and writing them down for like trying to make sure see what going through all of it. A lot of the edits, were felt good about them as far as what is Prabhupada saying, and the language being used and all that, and the goal was for force and clarity, because sometimes he might say something and then they edit it in such a way that it says the same thing, but the way it's worded brings it a little bit more into detail, like that one sentence we brought out earlier. It was basically the same thing. Yours said, can achieve the spiritual planets, and then this one says, can achieve a spiritual planet according to their mode of worship or something. So it's not like different.
But this purport is like, there's like
Yeah,
two or
yeah.
three paragraphs added that I don't know, exactly where it came from.
Right.
It's like it had nothing to do with the flow of it. I mean, maybe it does if you study it, but obviously they're not insane people that write these purports.
Yeah, if you're reading one and someone's reading the other, it's gonna be like you can't follow.
There was like there was like a time in this, of this verse that it was like, where am I? Is this the right book?
Right.
Is this the right? I mean, right, is this the right verse? Am I
Right.
the right verse? But
Right.
yeah, no, that's interesting. I didn't know that you guys did that. That was 1 year you went there, or was?
No, it's going on for years.
When was the last time you went?
2019.
Oh.
But it wasn't even just that. I mean, like I'm friends with some prominent disciples and like pundit disciples, and we're reading every day, even when we're not there. And like if I find something, because I was reading every day. I was doing 41 pages of Bhagavatam every day with the bhaktas, and I got friends working for so they tell me, if I find anything, send it to them, and I found several things that I sent to them, and they're like, oh yeah, we didn't know about this one, just like mistakes. Even just a couple days ago, we read one, and there was a run-on sentence in here.
In the Gita.
Yeah.
I mean, in the yellow book.
Yeah. Yeah, and then even amongst the yellow books,
There's
they're not agreeing always.
Yeah, I noticed
So
that too.
I know I don't know.
There's like
currently,
several versions of that. It's really strange.
I know currently I'm not sure where the project is in terms of, like we have gone through it all painstakingly, and we're confident that it's complete, and we have it the way we want it. See, as far as I know, it's still like fine tuning.
Let me ask you this: was there a discussion at all about putting footnotes that this is a giant Wicca, or this is so and so has added this?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still a nobody. I don't know.
You don't know if that was discussed at having like when you have other books, they have like little numbers on it.
Mhm.
They say, okay, this comes from this place.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So if you're introducing all these other clarifications, even they're clarifying paragraphs that are
Yeah.
introduced, and it doesn't, and it makes it seem like, okay, this is something that Prabhupada said, but it's actually composed and written by one of the disciples, which I'm not criticizing anybody, but I'm just trying to say it should be clear. If you're going to make a volume that's supposed to be accepted, it's strange, don't you think right now? It's a little strange. I mean, that there's so many different versions of the...
I think it depends on how you approach it. It depends how you approach it.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, if we're supposed to be this unified, I guess we're not going to have a unified movement, we don't have a unified version of the book, so. And now there's so many out already. How are you able to get them back? And come up with a standardized version, I mean, ultimately, I think the message
Right.
is not being affected, so that's why I'm not so fanatical about it. But the message is the same. I don't see there's sedantic changes, that we have to sweat about, but just...
Yeah, I don't know their sensitivity to, or I just don't know, how that I don't know about that being presented. I don't know if it's like, well, we're keeping the message the same. We're putting in there so and so and so and so edited this, and so it's clear that it's been edited, and by who. I don't know if there's like any extra specific details of going through it, footnotes or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
It's just it becomes like it's becoming more
yeah.
more evident as we're going
Right.
through the comparison. So,
Right.
what do you think there? Have you given it any thought, or are you just happy to channel it?
When I joined, I was told that you need to read the 1972 edition. It's a must. You can't compromise for any other edition.
Okay.
And then I went online.
That was
and
Arya?
It was Arya.
Yeah.
And then
Online, you did what?
online, a bunch of people were like, yeah, they're changing the book, so everyone's changing the book. It's crazy. How is this movement gonna survive? And then, actually, as of yesterday or today, I read someone who said, I think we need to burn every book that isn't the completely original edition that Prabhupada wrote. And we need to dance around in the kirtan circle.
somebody yeah, I don't know what's going on in mine, but
anyways, all this to say, initially I thought it was, like initially when I heard it from Arya and online, the first time I saw about it online, I thought it was it's like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense because everyone who's above me is saying it. And then Pranatika Runadas said that these books are fine.
who did you hear from? The books are fine? Okay.
There's a nice lecture by Radhika Raman Prabhu at ISKCON Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
On the topic. It's like a really long, like 2.5 hour thing. I'll send it to you if you want. It's pretty good. Basically, I can't repeat it.
No, he's free.
But yeah, that's basically for me. Like, okay, I stand with these guys basically, on my opinion, and I'm more like following Vaisheshika Prabhu's mood and my own experience also with these. I actually first when I was Bhakta, I was approached by what's his name?
Mahajan?
Yeah, they call him Lurch or something.
Mahajan?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that was a nickname.
I think
can see how they got that.
Gurukul kids called him that or something. But anyway, yeah, he approached me and gave me the book and invited me to the Sangha and stuff. And he kind of weirded me out because I didn't even know who he was. He's like, "Are you Bhakta Trevor?" I was like, "Who wants to know?" But he gave me this book and he walked away. And I went and looked at it, and just because there was some issue.
What was the Sangha? I mean, what was the Sangha?
Well, I don't know. Apparently they had some Sangha.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I never went. But, it's just like when I first came to New Vrindavan.
Okay.
I used to go to the palace, and I'd sit by the lotus pond, and I would avoid the devotees just because I knew there was some controversy stuff, and I just didn't want that in my life.
Mm.
And then later, like with the book thing, I did the same thing, but my first Gita was the Macmillan Gita.
Mm.
And so I was like, I read this one, and that's when I really discovered my feelings towards Prabhupada and Krishna, and so I was like, well, I'm sticking with this, and that's what I did for a long time. And then when I went to Denver, and Mother Nidra, she gave me one of these, and it's just Mother Nidra. So she gave it to me, and I just I politely accepted, and I accepted it, and so I kind of just accepted it because it was Mother Nidra giving it to me, and then eventually I just I started just doing my own research, like listening to what people are saying about the book, and then I'm like, okay, so they're saying this is happening. Let me read them side by side and look and then, eventually I ended up, I'm basically taking shelter of Vaisheshika Prabhu and going to Govardhan, and, we had Sanghas talking about it, like just training us up in how to understand the controversial topics, and the arguments that are being presented. This is their argument. This is this is what we're doing. It's not exactly like that or whatever. Like going through it. And we did that, and basically that combined with my experience of seeing these books make devotees and the effect in my own life and new devotees. Basically, I just accepted them, and in the mood of
So you're not in the mood that this book is better than that book. You're saying that all books
No.
had a transformation process, transformational potency.
Yeah, I can respect people having their personal preferences, but I don't like like when it gets to like kind of criticizing devotees and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's on the higher level the discussion of decisions of the DBT. Why. I thought maybe did they make a decision that they're printing both of them now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, last I checked, I mean that was like eight years ago or
Yeah.
something they started
they were
doing
gonna
it, but I
print
think they
both,
still are. Yeah.
So people could
Right.
choose, yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I firmly understand that the message is the same. It has the same potency.
Right.
But of course, from our own personal taste and reading this Gita, convincing me without having to make any editorial changes, and made hundreds. All Prabhupada disciples read this Gita.
Right,
they all
right.
became devotees. Whatever so-called mistakes there were, or whatever, it didn't affect them. And even the whole thing about women and everything. How many women joined from the women's
Right.
liberation era? It's like, so it doesn't make sense to us in general without getting into getting all the details. But in general, saying, well, it was good for us. It was good for our generation. Why is it? And they're not even, the editing is not even for generational changes. It's like, we have a different audience.
Right.
It's more like, I don't know. What is the term? Would you say that the editing? What I mean?
Force and clarity.
Force and clarity, and that was a BBT order, or that was a.
Well, that's what I understood. Prabhupada directly instructed, I believe, Jayadvaita Maharaj or somebody. I'm not sure on who, but
Yeah.
I mean that's out there. The quote of he wanted them edited for force and clarity.
Yeah, that was, but that was while Prabhupada was getting the edits back to him, right? Or
Well, I mean, I would assume so.
yeah,
That's the
But-
thing. People think that since he departed, his
Yeah, but
notes-
if we're not that okay, if this is a devotional service to do that, and it's like once Prabhupada leaves, then they shouldn't do it anymore. Then if we all did that, then we wouldn't have any movement.
yeah,
but the argument, of course, is that the changing the Acharya's books after he leaves, that's a questionable activity.
just because.
Well,
we
then
can't
it
know
goes
if
back
he-
to like the Ritvik thing, where it's like
I mean, why
they
can't,
think
why can't these
Prabhupada.
guys? The argument is, why can't these guys just write their own Gita? This is Bhagavad Gita as Jaya Advaita sees it, or as says whoever else, rather than as it is, which is Prabhupada's term.
Well, if Prabhupada wanted them to edit it, why wouldn't Prabhupada be able to empower them to edit it?
To
And
continue editing forever? Every year you're going to edit the thing? Every time anybody finds something that the
Well,
editing,
why would
the
they-
editing needs to be edited now. Like you're editing the editors. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, when does I think this was Rameshwar's argument that he said it has to be it has to stop this. It'll go on forever.
well, that's what I understand is I know from my time with Vaisheshika Prabhu that was a goal to
So-
have it to the end point.
Edit to the end point. Yeah.
Like that's what they're. That's
Okay,
what
but
they're
you didn't follow up on that and find out where it's at now or whatever, right?
No, I'm just
You
I'm
haven't
just a dumb like hillbilly living over here. I don't I'm nobody.
Yeah,
Nobody responds to me when I talk to them at all, practically. But there's there's a counter argument for every argument.
Oh yeah. What is it called? What is the verse? You know in Sanskrit?
No.
Right before the Mahajana Yenagata Sapanta.
I don't know.
It's like for anybody who's a Muni, there has to be
Yeah,
another
another
Muni. Somebody Muni has to have a different opinion than the previous Muni or whatever.
Yeah, but if there's some doubt that comes up, like if a devotee's doing something and there's devotees that are doubting it, the devotee should be able to, back up what they're doing, and
Yeah.
basically they have to defend themselves. And then also, I'm maybe a little rusty right now, and like in the mood of, basically I accept Vaisheshika Prabhu as my Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
And to defend and understand the mood of my Guru Maharaj.
Sure. You should be able to defend all the changes. If he supports all the changes, I don't know if he supports all the changes, but he obviously studying the changes to see if they're 100% supportable. Right? No, I mean, it's like it's a nuanced topic. And,
But I don't think there's any like mood of like anything bad necessarily on it. But it's also that especially when I was there, it was clear that this is not done, and we're trying to get this done.
Okay, yeah, that's a good move to have. Otherwise, it goes on forever.
Right.
I think that was Ramachar's point. It has to say, okay, there has to be an end game here. Otherwise, it can go on forever.
Yeah, but I think there's bona fide, rebuttals to, some of those arguments of, the editing and like the stuff we started talking about a little bit. There are presentations on that make a lot of, kind of like put it in a nice perspective.
Send me a Radha Gurman. I respect him a lot. He's next generation, sober, super brain. I loved his presentations here. Disappearance of Prabhupada.
Well, I think we should end there.
Oh yeah, you're still on the line?
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Thank you for coming,
What day are
Prabhuji.
you departing from the scene here?
Saturday or Sunday.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So the goal is to go, the immediate idea is to go for a few weeks and see how it goes?
And we're going for the semester.
Over the semester? Okay. That means from
Till April, the end
January
of April.
To
the end of April.
May, end of April.
Yeah. Yep. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in here. Hare Krishna. Adishvari Radha and Nakunja and Hare Ball, thank you so much.
You're all
end
set?
the recording now.
You're all fired up?
It's gonna be pretty good.
To go into the preaching front lines of the Athens,
Yeah, it's gonna be nice.
Ohio University.